This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez as we spend the hour on this 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina looking at New Orleans. Let's turn back to some of the voices of New Orleans residents who sought refuge at the Superdome and Convention Center after the storm.
That people just walking past us. We got children, they got asthma, they sick.
No food, no water, no nothing. Whatever we had, we've been taking it. That's the only way we could survive.
They got the food right here. Let me show you right here. This is where they got the food at. Hey, look, right here, look. See, they won't give us nuts. Look, the gate right there. Look. They won't give us nothing. We ain't drinking no ice water, nothing. But we can't get it.
There's nobody in charge. The National Guard, there's the police. There is nobody. Somebody needs to come take charge and put organization and get these people to safety, to get them clothes, the basic things that they need to live from day to day.
This is not about low income. It's not about rich people, poor people. It's about people. Nobody wants to hurt anybody in this city. Nobody wants to hurt these people who have these businesses. And they want a little air and a little food and water, for God's sake. That's it.
Those were some of the voices of New Orleans residents in the days after the storm 10 years ago. And we are joined by three guests here. Monique Harden of Advocates for Environmental Human Rights, Gary Rivlin, author of Katrina After the Storm, and Wendell Pierce, the actor and also author of The Wind in the Reeds, A Storm, a Play, and The City That Would Not Be Broken. Gary Rivlin, I'd like to start with you on this segment. The issue of education. One of the most astonishing things that occurred in the weeks after the storm was a decision of the then Governor Kathleen Blanco to close the entire public school system and reopen a recovery authority school system. Could you talk about what happened to the schools, the privatization and the creation of all these charter schools in New Orleans, and what's been the result 10 years later?
It makes me think of Naomi Klein's shock doctrine, that the opportunity that a disaster presents. The governor had wanted to take over many of the local schools in New Orleans prior to Katrina, and she had taken over a few of the worst performing schools. Katrina happens, and within 2 months, the state had taken over virtually every public school in New Orleans. And you know, the real problem is that for years, for 6-7 years, it just was chaos. Here are people who were displaced. You know, they're struggling to come home, and they just want a sense of place, a sense of home. There are no neighborhood schools anymore. People would sign up for one school, a charter school, and it would be closed a year or two later, and they have to go find another. Parent after parent told me the story of their child at a bus stop at 6 a.m. in the dark to, you know, take 2 buses to get to their school every day. It was chaos. There was cherry picking. You know, I mean, nowadays we all know that, you know, schools are measured by how high their scores are. And so especially early on, it's gotten a little bit better, but especially early on, they would just refuse some students. The highest expulsion rate in the country was in Orleans Parish schools. Why? Because they wanted to improve their numbers. You know, there was a lawsuit that the schools were not doing their duty of taking care of the special needs students. It was settled a year or two ago, and seemingly it's gotten better. But, you know, it's just like a generation of kids who had endured. You know, they're 8, 10, 12 years old at the time of Katrina. They see that the government doesn't care about them. They're scattered to the winds. Some of them, you know, under gunpoint. I mean, if you remember, people were being brought on planes, on buses, with armed soldiers as if they were prisoners, sent somewhere, often without being told where they're going. You know, they're living disembodied for several months, for a couple of years. And, you know, they come back to chaos. It was traumatized kids in this traumatized system.